Thank you so much for your testimony today. I see the largest appropriations request is 3.2 million for county election security assessments. And given the agent's history of voter roll purges and legal challenges, as you'll probably recall, what was it in 2018, 2019? Over 95,000 voters were purged from the list, and your agency was sued because a lot of those were valid voters. Especially people with surnames like mine, Latino surnames, and so that was a big area of contention and disenfranchisement of people in my community. And so considering that's the largest portion of what your appropriation requests are, what are you all doing? What steps has the agency taken to modernize voter registration and ensuring that that there is no wrongful disenfranchisement within your system?
If you don't mind, I'm going to ask our elections director, Christina Atkins, to answer that.
Okay.
So Christina is not registered.
Were you gonna, he's registering
just
for
did
me
it.
right now.
Okay.
If that's- Yes, of course.
Okay. We show you registered as Christina Atkins, that you're testifying here on behalf of Texas Secretary of State, and you are testifying neutrally. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Thanks for being here. Go ahead.
Yeah, so my question, and there was an actual recent voter purge as well under the current Secretary of State. But my question is, the largest portion of you all want or requesting in the county election security assessments, 13.2 million. Now, I as a Latina, I am concerned that, and some, we, not only as Latina, but people with different surnames or whatever were purged from y'all's voter list, and your agency has a history of purging or disenfranchising voters, intentionally or unintentionally, whatever the case may be. But what steps is the agency taking to ensure that there's no continued voter disenfranchisement and that your modern voter registration system is maintaining security and accessibility to the voters?
So with respect to the first part of your question, that particular funding item for the election security assessments is to repeat some assessments that we did about 5 years ago, where we were going out to counties to assess the physical and cybersecurity of those counties to ensure that we're having safe elections, that our workers are safe, that the equipment is stored properly, and to make sure that they have the right cybersecurity protections in place. So it was specific to that component of the election process. Part of that is also ensuring cybersecurity for our voter registration systems as well. But I just wanted to clarify that particular request goes well beyond voter registration, and it's about the holistic approach of securing our elections.
Right, I understand that.
Yes, ma'am.
So my question is, in this request that you have, how are you ensuring that, number one, you don't continue to disenfranchise valid voters, and number two, that their information is protected? And I understand you said you're going to the different counties and working with them to ensure that they have, or they meet the necessary
Absolutely.
basics to protect. So,
Absolutely. I think there's a couple of things that I can speak to there. First and foremost, we are in the middle of redeveloping and rolling out a brand new statewide voter registration and election management system.
Okay.
From a security perspective, it is much more secure than our previous system in that it involves a lot of modern technology. On top of that, we do a lot of list maintenance at the Secretary of State's office, and it's imperative that that data is transferred to those counties in a secure method, and it's provided to them, and that the data that is provided to them is high-quality data that is actionable. And so we have worked over the last 5 years, well, I would say specifically, probably in the last, longer than that, probably last 6 to 7 years, to work to make sure that we are identifying the right data sources that are providing high-quality data matches. We want to make sure that when we provide data to counties that they can act on, that it is the best data possible. And so we have spent a lot of time in the last few years really working to make sure we are identifying the right data sets and the right data sources. With respect to the situation you mentioned from 2019, we have worked very closely with the Department of Public Safety, with DPS on this particular issue to make sure that the data that we receive from them, which is the data source that we get for individuals that are identified as potential non-citizens, that it has been properly reviewed and vetted and is the right data set to pass on to our counties, where they are expected to further investigate and review that data before they act on it.
So before who acts on it? Before the counties?
Before the counties to act on it, yes, ma'am. They're the ones that take action when it comes to voter registration list maintenance. We may obtain some data sets for them to utilize. We pass that on to them, but they are the ones that investigate and take action.
Okay, and so so the modernization or the requested money for appropriation, so that also includes implementing online voter registration?
No, ma'am. In Texas, what we have right now is the ability for individuals through DPS transactions that are online, they can update registrations, and individuals that are currently registered can also update their registration online. So if you move within or even between different counties, you can make updates. But under current Texas law, there is not a mechanism for new registrations to be initiated online.
Okay, but other states do, I mean, that would be an efficient thing to do, right? Online voter registration, I mean, other states do that.
There are a number of other states that utilize online voter registration. Yes,
Yeah,
ma'am.
so it seems like this would be a great space for efficiency and eliminating fraud, if that's what you all are doing and contacting or communicating with DPS to make sure that that's taken care of. How does the agency ensure that automation and AI-driven voter roll maintenance does not result in wrongful disenfranchisement? That's the communication that you have with DPS?
Yes, ma'am. What I would say there is we don't take data from everybody. We don't look at, I mean, there's a lot of different data sources that are out there. We're not going to engage in a contract or an agreement with a data source unless we've vetted that particular source itself. We're relying heavily on government entities and other government agencies that we know have regulations in place to monitor how that data is used, and again, monitor the quality of that data. And then the other thing that we do in Texas that I think is very, very important, and I think we do really well compared to, I think, some other states that have looser rules in this area, is we have very strict matching criteria. So when we get a data set from a third-party source, be it DPS for non-citizen data or information regarding people that may have moved, I'm looking at like NCOA data or people that have been identified through DPS as having moved, which is we're working with them on that data set right now. We have very, very strict rules. It's not just a name that we match on. There's several different data points. For most of our matching criteria, it involves a first name, a last name, typically a date of birth, social security number, or driver's license number. So we want to make sure that if the state is passing on information to our counties, we want to be certain that we've identified the right individuals in our voter rolls. That has been a priority over the last few years. We have worked very hard to tighten up that process and to make sure that, again, only actionable data is what we're providing to our counties.
Okay, so in essence, you're saying from the I guess really it's a fraudulent voter purge that we had around 2019 or what have you. What you all have implemented is to avoid that happens again to the large scale that it did, where you disenfranchise 90,000 voters, 95,000 voters. This data set that you're getting allows for there to to ensure that it is accurate data so that you don't disenfranchise all these voters.
Yes, ma'am. We want to make sure that if we identify a potential match, that it is high quality, that it is actionable, and that we are very confident that we have identified the proper individual.
Okay.
So we've done quite a bit over the last few years to make sure that we are really working to understand those different data sets that are available.
Okay, so I understand when you mentioned high quality several times. So does that mean, so there could be errors in data entry or the way somebody, what have you. So there could be a conflict information that you're receiving that's on one certain set of a data set that you have versus what's entered in DPS rolls or what have you. There could be some errors. So when you say high quality, is there also another safeguard? That's where the counties come
Yes,
into
ma'am.
place, where
That's correct.
they verify this high-quality data that you have provided, this set of information, and then so those are additional safeguards that you all, and in collaboration with the counties, have
Yes, ma'am.
played in to make sure that we're
Absolutely.
efficient in everything that we do and effective and not just, getting rid of people that aren't supposed to.
Absolutely. The way the process works is we provide the information to the counties. The counties independently review and investigate that data. Just because we give them a match doesn't mean that they have to act on it.
Okay.
They may have information locally that speaks to a particular issue. or speaks to a particular individual, and if they know that that individual, subsequently took actions affecting their eligibility that may be inconsistent with the data that we have, just because they have fresher data or certain categories of data that we don't have, then they have the right to make that determination on how to act on it.
Wonderful. I do want to add that I'm a small business, and I have seen personally the difference in the last 5-10 years registering online or doing a name change or whatever with the entity versus what it was before. And it's much more efficient and effective and whatever you want to call it, but it's much more efficient when I don't have to stop everything I'm doing and go mail something or what have you. And you all have that online portal that allows us to go in and make those updates. So that is not only is it saving the state money, but it's saving small business owners money as well, that we don't have to go out and do everything in a manual process. So I do appreciate that effort. Thank you.
Members, any other questions? Representative Curry.
Yeah, I'm going to go through a really short kind of piece of question here. I do a lot of LLCs, and y'all do them for us. And sometimes the length of time on getting those through can be extremely lengthy. And one of the processes that we've noticed that's been an issue is if you have an LLC and you're forming another one,